Now, before we move on to our opponent, the one thing we want to also do is fix this issue where now my penguin can go off the screen. And we don't want that to be able to happen. I know it basically stops, but it doesn't really limit it. We want its movement limited, similar to the way our other penguin will be limited. So right now, we start out at 125 as our Y value, and we'll go down to negative 125. That's the way we'll program our character over here. So we're just going to add a quick little loop, and we're going to say if, and we're going to go to operators, and we're going to get the less than variable, or less than inequality. Okay, so something is less than, and in this case it says 50. So if we go to motion and go to the very bottom of that, I can use my X and Y position of this character. So I want my Y position to be less than 125. And what I'm going to do is wrap that right there. Okay, and the reason I add that, if you watch this, is now when I click this, I can go down, but as soon as I click up, as soon as I hit 125, even though I'm still holding the key, he's not going up. He or she, sorry. I'm going to duplicate that real quick, and I'm going to pull this one out, put this one in, and the other thing I have to do is I have to go back to operators. Unfortunately, I do have to swap out that entire green block from a less than to a greater than. So I will move the Y position 1. This time it will be negative 125. Actually, no, I don't. Actually, no, I don't. I realize I made a mistake there. All I have to do is switch to negative, because my sign is going to be exactly what I want if Y position is less than negative. Because remember, as negative numbers go up, they're technically less. So all I have to do is duplicate it and add the two negatives. So now what should happen, green flag this, up can't go up, I can go down. I do have to switch by inequality. Oh, yeah, that's the issue. I want Y position to be greater than negative 125. There we go. By doing this, now, I was right the first time. Now I can go down, and at 125 it stops. And then at 125 it stops. So I can move anywhere in this range. There we go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one penguin. So I'm going to take the penguin 2 off of it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on him and I'm going to duplicate this penguin. Okay. That takes a lot of the stuff with me. Now, again, if I didn't change the code on penguin number 2, it would do exactly the same thing. Okay. So I am going to make some changes. I am going to start with this, set size 2. And what I need to do is I need to reverse the X negative, because I want him to go to 200 in the positive direction, so he's over here. So as I click that, now he's up in the top left corner. Now, if I was to leave this exactly the same way, you would notice that both penguins move together, and that's really not what I want. I want this penguin to move on its own. Okay, so I'm going to actually get rid of these stacks. I don't need those at all. Again, it got me this already set up. What I want to follow this with is a forever loop and 2 glide commands. So glide is just motion for a certain amount of time to a certain spot. Okay, and I'm going to put 2 glide commands in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with this at 5 seconds each. Okay, if I want my penguin to move faster, I would decrease that number. Okay, and where I want him to go is 200 negative 125, and then 200 positive 125. Okay, and by putting it that way, he moves up and down by himself. Okay, And that's exactly what we want. Now you may look at it and go, well, that's great and all, but his back is turned. And, you know, it's not really a nice thing if you're going to have a snowball fight with somebody to throw a snowball at somebody's back. So we're going to go to costumes. And we are going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to highlight everything. So use the pointer tool and drag everything. And then we want to just click flip horizontal. That's going to flip that penguin around, point him in the other direction. You'll also notice my penguins are the same color. So what you're going to want to do is get the fill bucket and get a different color. So it's kind of a purplish color right now. I'm going to just move the colors so it has a matching tone. You'll see what I mean later. And I'm going to move this over into kind of the reddish area just to get kind of a red look to it, and change that and that by filling those in differently. So now I have a more of a red color look. Okay, and again, I'm going to go ahead and leave this exactly the way that is. So for now, based on my code, this penguin starts there. Now, if you don't like this penguin starting in the same here, because we'll actually eventually, or in future videos, we will get the penguin, the non-playable character penguin, to start to throw snowballs at us. And if you don't like the fact that they could start right here and immediately throw one at you, you can start this penguin at the bottom. Okay, and the way you would set that up is we want to start out at negative 125. And then what you would do is just switch these. So you would go from negative to positive to negative, okay? Or the other way, which was you go from positive to negative to positive. Either way, that alternating pattern needs to happen. So what that looks like is that penguin starts out in the bottom corner and comes up first, whereas my penguin starts in the top corner and has to go down. Just to make my game a little more challenging, I think this is the way I'm going to start mine. Okay, so this gives me both my playable character, which is the penguin in purple, okay, and my non-playable character, which is the penguin in orange, red, and then what we'll call that, reddish orange. And now I've got both of them ready to go. So in the next video, we're going to set these penguins up to start throwing snowballs at each other. So we'll create the snowball sprite, and we will program it. I'll also talk to you a little bit about if you're doing the water balloon version of this, how can you set that up so that your sprite would change color, okay? And I'll do that by just duplicating it, and you'll see what I mean. So until the next video.